Okay, all right. I'd like to call the Municipal District of Tabor, May 27th, 2025, regular meeting of council to order. You have an agenda in front of you. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none,
I can accept the agenda as presented.
thank you. Any questions or comments? Those in favor? The agenda is carried. Protocol items, announcements, and recognitions from council. We'll go on to staff oh, sorry, go ahead. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna go to Arliss. Yeah, and then I'll go to Arliss, please.
Thank you, Reed Menig. I just wanted to recognize, a couple of staff within the last couple weeks. They attended the annual Society of Local Government Managers Mountain Refresher Workshop, and at that workshop, I don't want to say they were awarded because they weren't awarded. They received that which they worked for and deserve. They received what's called their Certified Local Government Manager designation. So it's a professional designation that's regulated by the province of Alberta. And to obtain that designation, it requires minimum 5 years of senior leadership experience working within a municipality, as well as the completion of 12 university courses through the National Advanced Certificate Local Authority Administration program with the University of Alberta. And they do this all while at the same time as they are working on their own time. So I just wanted to recognize that Wendy Bergen, our finance coordinator over our taxation, and Bryce Serena, our director of community services, received that professional designation that they worked diligently and hard for over the last many years. So just wanting to recognize that and their professional achievements. So we're proud of them and happy that they were able to achieve that.
Yes, on behalf of the council and the residents of the MD of Tabor, congratulations to Bryce and Wendy. It definitely shows your commitment to municipal government and elevates our organization by not only your skills that you bring every day, but now in addition to your professional development. So congratulations to both of you, and we really appreciate your dedication to municipal government.
Thanks. With their blessing, we will try and also do a little Facebook picture and recognition with their actual parchments. So
yeah, I think that would be duly needed for sure. Thank you. Okay, staff, do you have anything else? Pretty hard to top that. So very good. All right. So we'll continue on with the agenda. Confirmation of minutes, May 13th, regular meeting of council.
I can give the motion to approve the minutes of May 13th, 2025 as presented.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Those in favor? Minutes are carried. Public engagement, call for people to speak. We have no one online or in the audience other than delegations that are scheduled. So we will move on to our delegations to RCMP. Sergeant Stuart Gemmell, thank you.
Good morning. I'm here to present the April 2025 stats for my detachment. We responded to 153 calls for service last month, and 116 were within the MD. We had 2 impaired drivers last month, one in the MD, one in Vauxhall. We had 23 criminal code violations reported to us, 16 were within the MD. We had 16 911 hangups, 14 were within the MD. That's a good number. It's getting lower. Criminal record checks, we did 32. Fingerprints for the general public, we did 4. We made 11 patrols of Enchant, 35 patrols of Grassy Lake, 7 patrols of Hayes for 53 Hamlet patrols. We did 4 patrols of the Enchant campground, and we did 119 patrols total of the MD. We are a little short right now, and we're hoping soon to have a member replacing the one that left us. We wrote 36 violation tickets, and one was written by the Red Cliff or Lethbridge Traffic Unit, and for 37 violation tickets. Most of them within the MD with 33. Going down to the provincial crime gauge, persons crimes are up 82%, property crimes are up 46%, other criminal code is up 1%, total criminal code offenses have been up 47%. We saw one more instance of break and enter. Theft of motor vehicle, we've seen 5 more instances, and theft under is one fewer instance, and that's January to April compared to last year to this year. Some of my comments, the detachment laid charges in 6 criminal investigations in the month of April. There were 3 fraud complaints, 4 mischief complaints, 3 theft under complaints, and 2 stolen vehicle complaints in the month of April. Charges were laid by RCMP of another jurisdiction in relation to one of the stolen vehicles. 3 investigations were cleared without charges. That means they were solved and they're finalized in another way. And 5 investigations into the remaining offenses are open and progressing. Constable Di Loretto attended and participated in the Tabor Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and it says in red surge, but he was not. That's what's been going on at my office. Are there any questions or concerns?
Council?
Significant increase in persons crime, and what numbers would that, like, what would the numbers be? I mean, 82% if you had one last year and one,
Exactly. It could be 82% is high, but again, in a small detachment, if we have, like, let's say 5 more assaults reported, that could really drive up that percentage. So I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, so I can't say for certain, but we haven't seen any trends or patterns that are concerning right now, despite that being an extremely high number.
so if that trend was to continue for 2 or 3 reporting periods, then it might be a concern?
Yeah, that's right. So
Yeah, so my question falls under bullet point 4 under the Tabor Provincial April 2025, the total of 9 files with spousal abuse survey code.
okay.
And that what says year to date 21 versus 2024 10. So always that concerns me because anytime there is domestic, is there strain on our economy, all of those things. And if at any time you felt that there was information we should be sharing social media or through our newsletter or any mechanism we have, I think it's important to make those resources available. We have a WhatsApp channel now, so perhaps that's something as you reflect on those increases, if there's something we can do. And maybe not so much, it doesn't stop it, but it maybe could change the awareness of what resources are available to people.
I've been in meetings with the Crown Prosecutor, and there is somebody putting together a domestic violence awareness package that they plan on putting on a QR code for the bathrooms of the courthouse, and so that might be something they might want to add to that WhatsApp chat. So I'll talk to the Crown Prosecutor next time I meet with her, which should be next Monday, and just let her know that that's available as well.
Yeah, I think it's very important. Thank you. Council, do you have any other questions or concerns?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So a motion to receive the RCMP report.
I can give you that motion.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Those in favor? Have a good day. Okay, next on our agenda is the Town of Tabor Summer Games update, and we do not have Chris Egan, but we have CEO Darren and Kara, so welcome. So I realize that CEO Darren knows all of council, but we'll just take a moment and introduce.
Hi, John Trucato, Division 2, which is south of Tabor.
Tamara Mianega, Division 4, which is Tabor North to the Old Man River.
Good morning, Chantal Clausen, Division 7, Vauxhall area.
Good morning, Murray Reynolds, Division 6, Inchan area.
Good morning, Merrill Harris, Tabor West, Division 1.
And You'll need to, yeah.
Oh, Kira Astala, Summer Games Coordinator and Economic Development Assistant.
And myself, CEO Kibo. So the two people that were originally supposed to be here are not, and so so here I am with Kira to help with the Summer Games update. Kira's got much more of the finer details, and I have the very overarching, not as finer details. So we did give a presentation, and thank you for allowing us to come, Reeve and Council. And we gave a presentation to our council yesterday, which was very similar to what you see in front of you in your package today. So it'll be a very short update, maybe more questions coming from your side of the equation than what I have for information. So we have internal positions that you see in your package that are the chairs for all of those have been filled, which is about 25 different events, which is a pretty good number of events. I'm not certain what we had in 2018. I think the number was similar, and I'm not certain what Coaldale actually hosted. I believe we're hosting more than what Coaldale had to host. We have some facility improvements that are underway. This morning we are looking at lines over at the track for at St. Pat's. I don't know that it's in the exact state that we would love it to be in from a final perspective, but we are assured that we will have lines there hopefully by the end of today, and so that I think there's a track meet tomorrow that should be able to enjoy the newly painted lines and the updated surface. We did want to thank the MD for putting forward the in-kind and the money. I don't know exactly what the status is for updates to your particular facilities. That's being handled by your administration, but I know that those will also be underway for, I know it's the volleyball for sure, and I don't know if there's motocross or what else might be going on, but it's all going quite well from our perspective. We did want to mention that there is some sponsorships required. Bring that page with me. So we have a date of, I believe it's June 5th for the sponsorship if we wanted names on shirts and things like that. The uptake has been slow. There's been an awful lot of sponsorship requests this year with the Tabor 120 and the Canada Day celebration, and now the Summer Games on top of that. So Kara has been in a spot that has not been fantastic for going and reaching out again. So we would ask that, you know, you as elected officials, if you could spread the word that sponsorships are still very welcome, and volunteers is also the next piece. So I'll actually ask Kara to speak to the historical volunteer volume and where we're at today.
Yeah, so in 2018 when we hosted, we had around 350 volunteers. Last year in Coaldale, we had around 230 volunteers, so that was what was recommended for this year's games. And this year we're standing at, for sheets that I have in, 40 volunteers. I do expect more by the end of this week as they have to have their forms into me by Thursday. I hope to see more by June 5th. I have to have a t-shirt order in, so you can still volunteer after June 5th mark. You're just not guaranteed your t-shirt size.
So outside of that, there wasn't anything more that we had to update. Just wanted to really hit home that the volunteer base is a bit low, and we're struggling from that perspective.
What do you need the volunteers to do? Like, you know, like a lot of us, we don't run track, we don't do those sort of things. Like, what do you need volunteers to do when Murray Reynolds volunteers to come, and what do you need him to do?
Yeah, we do have a volunteer form, and on there is listed, you can volunteer for the 24 events. Or if there's something like results or the ceremonies or helping facilities drop off like water or lunch, things like that, you can check off any of those boxes if that interests you rather than doing a sport. But there are lots of different things that are included in those sports. I know for track and field, there's about 10 or 20 different things that you could help with. And that could be as breaking the gravel pits. So things like that. But on our form, you could check off what you think you'd like to do, and then I can discuss further into those details of what it is that you are going to be doing.
Is this an online form that we would be able to put on a Facebook page and share? That they
Yeah,
could-
it's it is on the Southern Alberta Summer Games website under volunteers, and then there's a form listed there, but I can also send you a direct form as well.
Yeah, I think it's really important that we continue as the MD of Tabor to promote the registration that is due June 5th, as well as the volunteer sign up, because the athletes come from throughout our entire region. So Kira, I'd just like to commend you and the Town of Tabor team who's been working on the games. It's a monumental task that only happens every 4 years. Well, maybe not. We hosted in 2018. It seemed like we were doing it every 4 years, but should be every 10-ish. But so in far as volunteers and sponsorship, even though we're asking a lot, it's a one and done. It's not if you sign up. So I do encourage people to look at sponsorship and volunteering if they're available. The games chairs are incredible. There's about 30 people who've committed their names to being games chairs, and then about 8 to 10 more who've looked after the ancillary parts of the games. And all of these folks are volunteers on their own time, their own expertise, and then they have the support of the Town of Tabor, which has been fantastic. So I think if we can fill in some of the gaps with community volunteers or business volunteers, it would be very important. It is an event that brings approximately how many people do you expect for participants?
Participants anywhere from, I would say, 1,000 to even further than that from all the different regions.
Right, so they come from across southern Alberta, and with those athletes come 1.5 to 2.5 family support. Our campgrounds, I believe, are all booked for those days that there's no vacancies. We fill up our restaurants, our shopping, and so it's a huge economic driver for our municipality as well. So it is an incredible event, but it also recognizes culture and sport. So I really do hope the community gets behind it, and we'll keep plugging the social media aspect. And then as individual counselors, we'll reach out to our own networks and see if we can drum up support. But Kira, you have done a great job, and I do appreciate the dedication that the Town of Tabor has made to facilities and to their staff, getting the locations and the programs really looking great. So that's really important.
Thank you.
Thanks, that's all we have.
Okay. Arliss, was there anything that you wanted to add on Summer Games?
I think I could just supplement briefly what Darren had referenced, that we have been in touch with it would be the beach ball volleyball group. So we're working with them to make sure they have what they need, and then some upgrades with respect to the shooting range as well. And there'll be some conversations with our fire department and the support that they can provide. That was part of the contributions in kind, from what I recall, is our discussion.
Yeah, and that first aid component is huge with support of the fire departments and those who have first aid training. So if you have that and you don't want to rake pits for long jump, then first aid is hugely needed as well. So it is a huge contingent of volunteers, and we'll get there. It's just we're a bit of a slow roll right now. Okay, motion to receive the Town of Tabor Summer Games update. Go ahead.
I can move to receive the Town of Tabor Summer Games update for information.
Thank you. Any questions? Those in favor? That's carried. Okay, number 6, declarations of conflict.
I'll have to excuse myself from 9.2,
Okay,
the grazing lease thing, as I'm in a grazing association that leases land, grazing ground from the MD of Taber.
thank you, Councillor Reynolds. All right, moving on to the consent agenda, the CAO report.
Thank you, Remy and Ega. Ultimately, as usual, the report here is as presented, and myself and staff are here to entertain and answer questions to the best of our ability. One thing that I did want to highlight, it was referenced in the planning and development section, that I thought was quite noteworthy or nice, just from a perspective of being informative. I'll bring it over with respect to information, availability of information on planning and development documents. I'll just hone in or focus on our area structure plans. So if you go to our area structure plans, we've established an area structure plan library. And at the beginning of each area structure plan that exists, and there's many, and for those that have or currently sit on the MPC, area structure plans definitely have a bearing when it comes to approval of subdivisions as well as development permits. But what I wanted to highlight here specifically was that staff have developed kind of one-pager summaries at the beginning of each area structure plan, just to make it in an effort to make it, I guess, a bit more intuitive in understanding what the key aspects of that specific area structure plan are. So that's just something that they recently, I would say in the last month or two, completed. All available and accessible on our website. So I just wanted to highlight that, because when I was reviewing and updating the CAO report, I followed up on the link that was provided and found it quite helpful. Just from a perspective of having easier information at your fingertips. So wanted to highlight that. I'll go back to my.
Just on that note, I think that is an excellent feature, and at some point when it makes sense, we should highlight and focus that on our social media, just so that other people can have access or knowledge of it.
As far as kind of the day-to-day aspect of things go from the CAO perspective, we're continuing along on our regular, as best we can, as on our regular and scheduled policy review and updating. That's something that we've implemented within the last year, as well as more recently, we've been working on some horsefly spillway advocacy and moving forward with not only the regional drainage approach, but also specifically the horsefly project itself. So there's some advocacy efforts going on right now as we speak, and with respect to next steps on the horsefly project, there's a committee meeting that will be happening towards the end of next week. So we should have some more updates after that as well, with respect to moving that project forward, horsefly project. A couple of other things we have implemented. I guess I shouldn't say we, but we've helped facilitate in partnership with the regional water commissions, Highway 3 Regional Water Commission, as well as the Vauxhall District Regional Water Commission. They recently transitioned to having a contract commission manager, so that transition continues to take place, onboarding continues to take place, and it ultimately, the actual switch from the MD of Taber acting as managing body has actually switched to the contract manager, and that contract manager is John A. McDonald Water Services, not our former prime minister, just for clarity. So that's underway. There's been one Well, I guess there's been 2 commission meetings where that individual has been at those commission meetings in that capacity as manager. So one for each. So that's underway and happening. I guess I'll throw it back to council to see if there's any additional questions that council might have from the report as a whole. The financial software project is kicked off. A couple weeks ago they had their kickoff meeting, which is a rather large undertaking. So that's an understatement, actually.
The transition to the contracted services for the Water Commission, for those of us who don't sit on either of the 2 commissions, will we, and perhaps it's not a now, since you did reference your onboarding, but perhaps in a future CAO report, you could reflect the change or improvement that it has to our MD of Tabor not being the managing partner and what the changes have been. But I think it's probably worth to wait till the onboarding is complete, or even one of the Water Commission members can give that in a future report.
Yeah, I can definitely endeavor to highlight things as they are realized, if I could put it that way.
Yeah.
And noticed, and definitely I would encourage the representatives that sit on those commissions to include those packages in their council updates as well.
Okay, thank you. Council, do you have any other questions?
I would ask just a couple.
Yes, please.
Our Grassy Lake subdivision, they're working, your report says back, construction has restarted, appears to be on track. When do you expect them to be finished and lots available for sale?
Corey, do you have an actual contract date for expected finish?
We don't have an
Okay,
actual contract completion date.
okay.
Has to be done before winter of this year, so.
Just, they've got to be done by winter. Okay. Second question, and it refers to our grader fleet. Are all the graders, and we have operators for all the graders we have? Like, I think last year we had some graders sitting. I was just curious if we've got bodies in all the seats.
Yeah, we're fully staffed right now, with the exception of one individual is off on medical leave. But we're backfilling that position with one of the float operators right now.
In keeping with the roads question, I know we have a committee of the whole coming up on roads, but are you seeing that our roads are similar to past years, or is there significant changes based on weather, usage? Is that something we as a council will need to look at for the future?
Well, we all know that the roads are getting busier and busier, and traffic seems to be getting faster and faster, so I'd say the road conditions aren't any better than they were previous years. It's hard to say if they've been worse or not, but this year seems to be going okay. We seem to be keeping up, so.
Okay, I appreciate that answer. That's important for us. Any other questions from the report? Councillor Takeda.
I see there's a list here of outstanding lease payments by a number of companies. And on these, how many of these are actually operating, or are any of them?
Okay, let me just, I don't think any of them are currently operating, at least under those names.
So then that would mean that any payments we might be getting would come from another source, is that right?
These are all, this list here is with respect to what's in the queue from the LPRT, Lands and Property. Lands and Property Tribunal, so.
I always appreciate the social media statistics. I think it does reflect that that's a worthwhile resource and that we are getting people to check our website, check our social media. Again, I think WhatsApp is a little bit slower uptake than we anticipated, but we'll just keep working with that and making those connections. I don't think that's a MD of Tabor issue. It's just we need to keep finding avenues to get to WhatsApp users. And yeah. So I appreciate those stats that are always in the report. And yes, Councillor Harris.
Sorry, one more question, and it's on page 3 of your report. Crusher operator position remains open. Have we filled that yet, or are we not crushing gravel at this point in time?
No, we haven't filled that position yet this year. The crusher is set up, ready to go when we get the last operator. We have one loader operator, but
Not the crusher
he
operator.
can't crush on his own. So
And that's a seasonal position, correct?
it's a full-time position now.
Oh, I was just gonna ask that, what are we doing to get these people to stay on with us?
Yeah. Yeah, we transitioned those 2 positions to full-time this
Okay.
year. But it has been extremely hard to try to find someone that can operate a crusher.
I'm just wondering on the service trackers here in April, just wondering if the use of our residents of service trackers is going up, if there's more people doing them year over year? Because I think that's a good way of, I guess, gauging how people are, how our ratepayers are engaging with us.
Just to the comment, I'll refer to Corey from an anecdotal perspective of what he's seeing, just because most of them are operations centric, the requests that are put in. But I mean, to the comment about whether or not the increased use of it is an indicator of enhanced engagement, I would say yes and no, just generally speaking, because there is the possibility that there's less concern in certain areas, so there's less need to put in a request. That could surface, so it may not be a perfect indicator of engagement levels through that tool. But I'll let Corey speak anecdotally to kind of year over year what he's seeing in trends.
Yeah, I'm seeing more and more service trackers come in. I wouldn't say that it has anything to do with our roads being in worse condition or not, but I think people are using it more and more, for sure.
I also think it's something that not only council promotes with residents, but it's something that we do as well. So that's our intent, is for people to use it more.
I would agree that even though the use is going up, doesn't mean, and so because we're receiving more complaints doesn't mean our roads are worse. And I would agree with that. I think it's good that more people are using the tools that we provided. I mean, this is only, what, 5 years old? And it's gone up significantly, and that's good. It's good to have people engaged, even though it's kind of complaint-based, but I think it's important.
I think it helps raise awareness of what's going on in our roads, and I think that point, and whether it's counselors being more diligent when they get a phone call to use it, or I know that when I've talked to residents, when they've called in, the staff have been very helpful to help them get them in service trackers. So I think we're getting more consistent in how we record concerns, because they might not all be complaints. It just is a concern as well. Of course.
Sorry, Corey, I'm gonna go one more time here on on the gravel. Do we have enough stockpile? We'll get through, I mean, I guess ultimately what I'm asking is, in times past, and it's been quite a few years, maybe, we've had a kind of a report of how many tons of gravel we've got stockpiled and whatnot. Do we have enough, like, how critical is it to find somebody to run that crusher? Are we okay tons wise?
We have a reserve, for sure enough to get us through this year and possibly part of next year. I don't feel comfortable depleting that reserve right now, so it's still top priority for me to get that thing up and running.
As far as ensuring production there, we have a resolution on the books to actually look at future and potentially near future solutions that will guarantee that a little bit better than perhaps than the current method that's in place now.
Okay, any other questions for the CEO? As we go through the consent agenda, if something comes up, you're always welcome to ask. Okay, we'll move on to budget versus actuals.
This is what we've been providing the last couple months until we actually implement our quarterly reports. You'll see the first of which come into play in July. But I don't think, unless corporate services has anything to note, I don't think that you'll see much anything of significant variance, I guess, at this point. Mike, do you have anything to add?
No.
Question though,
So-
can you just for me, can you explain what requisitions is? Is this like school, housing, those sort of things? That's
Yes.
what's underneath this category.
Requisitions is the school and seniors housing and the designated industrial property requisition. So any of those ones that we collect, but then send off to the next organization. And ones like this, the school one is done in quarterly payments, and so we see those come each at the end of each quarter. We make those payments, and so we would only see that as a portion at this point of the year.
That's what I thought, but I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, any other questions on the budget versus actuals report?
I do have a few more questions. Just, excuse me. You're right there on page 4, Arliss, finance and admin. Under revenues, you've got sale of goods and services, conditional grants, and other revenue. Just, I know it's not a lot of money, but just an explanation of sale of goods and services from the finance admin department.
Do you want to look at the revenue codes, Mike? And
Yeah.
I just don't want to speak out of turn and say the wrong grants, but
Okay.
the conditional grant, it could very well be the lighting, the LED lighting
Okay.
grant that we received from, I think it was Fortis, but I'll let Mike just look it up.
And again, maybe just an explanation. It doesn't have to be right now. I was curious.
I'll have it here in 2 seconds.
And then the next one I have is on page 20. It's called road oiling, and I know we don't oil roads. When we transition to different software, is that coming out?
We will make sure those sub-departments match what we're actually doing,
Right.
and what they are doing. And the
That's what I
sales,
assumed. And then the last question I have is on page 31 under bylaw enforcement. Arliss, is it just, let me just find it here real quick. Page 31. Yeah, it's bylaw enforcement. So I'm just assuming, and I'm just gonna ask the question, is part of that $727,000, is that the RCMP cost is part of that? It's not just our services from the town, it's the RCMP cost is part of that also.
It's RCMP.
That's correct.
RCMP plus the community standards.
Right, that's what I assumed. I just wanted to make sure that I understood what all the $700,000 under that category was. Thank you. And those other ones, you can tell me later.
I've got, so the sales to the good sales and goods and services is like tax certificates, tax searches. It's the fees for the water commissions. And then it captures, and other revenue would be capturing the revenues that come in that don't really have a home elsewhere. It kind of captures some of those just miscellaneous things in the other revenues. The conditional grants for this year is related to the LED lighting replacement.
Okay, thanks. Like I said, just curious what those revenue sources were.
So on that page 31, where the 3 purchases from other government, RCMP, Town of Tabor, is that the number of groups that we're financing there? Or is that just a code number?
That's a categorization.
It's a categorization.
Yeah.
So is there any way of breaking those out so the public has a better understanding what the RCMP contribution is? And I don't know if it's too much work, it's not a problem, but I think it would be add more clarity to understand the differentiation between how much you're paying for the RCMP and how much you're paying for the community standards.
From these reports, this is how it would be generated. Part of the quarterly report that, as part of that quarterly report, is providing some of that information about what are in the budgets, what's the information that's there, how it's being utilized. These reports come from the financial software, and they give just the straight numbers. And the 3 is a categorization because the GL accounts within that one all start with a 3. They're all a 342, 322, whatever it might be. So they follow that categorization that is actually a Alberta municipalities standardization that was created a number of decades ago. There's also the opportunity to split out policing as a separate GL set versus bylaw enforcement as an opportunity to differentiate that as well. Again, that's one of those things that would have to wait until we're in the new financial software where we have a little more, once we migrate the data from this system to the new system, then we can separate those types of things and create some better reporting.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other budget questions? Okay, we'll continue on to council reports. So my report since April 16th is in front of you. You can see there's been a large number of public engagements, and we've been very honored to be invited to those events. I'll have Councillor Harris talk about the meeting with Minister of Environment. It's included in his report. So the municipality continues to be very active, and they are recognizing more and more the role that the MD plays, and thus we're invited to these events. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, then we will move on to Deputy Reeve de Groot is not here today, but he has submitted his SEWA meetings and the policy, the Vauxhall, the Veterans Memorial Highway report, and the Vauxhall Elementary School letters. Thank you, which I think we should recognize that. It was from their grade 3 class, and Deputy Reeve de Groot attended and let them know about municipal government and the role that we play in their communities. So, and just for your information, the ORSC Notice of Appeal checklist, he has included that just so that as councillors, you're aware of what is involved if a decision is being appealed from development. When he returns, we can ask him additional questions. So next we'll go to Councillor Turcado.
I have printed off my report as I had it in too late to make the agenda. I believe Lace is going to enter it, so it will be there and available for the public. Other meetings and events that I attended over the last month was all of council was invited to a Tabor Food Bank tour on April 22nd, which was very informative as usual, and see the good work that they do for those in need in our community. Also attended the Tabor Spring Classic Pro Rodeo on the April 26th and 27th. We also toured, we're fortunate enough to be invited to tour the Shooting Foundation range with Cardston County as they're looking at doing something similar with a, I guess, abandoned shooting foundation that they have in their jurisdiction. So that was very beneficial as well. And I know all of council has, the council that's here has my report in front of them. And I would ask if they have any questions to please ask.
Okay, thank you. We'll continue to Councillor Reynolds.
Yeah, my two reports from the Vauxhall Regional Fire and Vauxhall Regional Water agenda and minutes are in the thing there, and any questions I'll try and answer.
Thank you. Councillor Clausen.
Not much further to add than what's reported. Of Vauxhall Chamber, we welcomed Linda Unruh as the new admin assistant, so we're very excited to have her.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Harris.
My report's in front of you. Not a lot of to add to it. We did meet with Environment and Protected Areas Minister Schultz on the 23rd of April to update her on the progress of the horsefly, the regional stormwater drainage projects, and discussed with her how to access a little bit more funding to finish the project off. We'll be working with her office and her officials to find ways to approach the federal government to see if they have additional funding. Jack Dunsmore has given a good update in the CAO report on where phase 3 is essentially finished, with just some cleanup happening. And our next meeting is on June the 6th, I believe. And we'll be having a meeting of the whole committee that day to outline where we're at and where we need to be moving forward and how to get the projects all finished. Other than that, my meetings are in front of you if there's any questions.
Okay, and next would be Councillor Hildebrandt, but he's not able to join us today. So I thank council for their robust reports and reflecting how very busy they are and the commitment they make to the residents and actually to the region. Several of the council's committees are region-based, whether that's economic development, the drainage project, Highway 3 twinning, our chambers. So we definitely don't just focus on our municipality. We recognize that everything that happens in the MD of Tabor has a regional impact. So I commend the councillors for their dedication to these meetings, and many of you sit on executives, which then elevates your involvement as well. And as well, thank you to the staff who provide support for those committees or attend public events. That has been noted, and we appreciate that. So council, anyone else have any questions on council reports, CAO reports, or budget? We have no correspondence. I have heard no requests for exemption. So if at that time I would ask for a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I can give the motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Harris. Any questions? Those in favor? That's carried. Okay, 8.1, upcoming meetings and events. Turn that to CEO Arliss.
So there's still, well, I guess FCM is almost past. I guess it starts in a couple days.
It's
But I think Lace is on top of that with who is or who is not going. Just wanted to check here. Did we finalize some dates with our connection with Lethbridge County? We'll have to add to this. Do you mind just verbalizing that just in case? Some dates have been confirmed since we've issued this agenda. But don't use the microphone.
Yeah, so the meeting with Lethbridge County is June 23rd from 10 to 11:30 with lunch to follow in our Rees room.
Another event happening this week is on Friday, Spring Safety Day, where there's some training that takes place at the Operations and Maintenance Building. So council is welcome to attend that as they wish, starting at 8:30. And there'll also be lunch that day as well. And I know that 13th through 15th was proving to be fairly busy as well, but it looks like we have at least one council representative attending to those events as well, or those appointments, I guess you could say. And then there's a listing of community events as well.
okay, council, as you review, is there items that you feel we should have on there? I will add the Barnwell Days Parade is July 19th. I'm away, but if we do decide to put in our vehicle, then if council is available to drive it, our fire department is usually very active in that Barnwell Days Parade. We haven't received anything formal, but I was just trying to forecast what that looks like. We do have Corn Fest in there, but same thing, parade on August 21st. And yeah, I think we have the Vauxhall Canada Day and then parade there too. So if you're wanting and willing to take part in any of those community parades, if you can touch base with Lace, whether we'll have just a counselor pick up the vehicle or whether we'll coordinate with staff. Just we want to make sure we don't miss those opportunities if we have people available. And then just from a community perspective, that doesn't necessarily need to be on the calendar, but tonight will be recognition of the Apex Youth that MD of Tabor has been a sponsorship, and so I will be at that. And then MD of Tabor on Friday, May 30th at 1 p.m. has been invited to attend the Blackfoot naming ceremony of Dr. Tymonson from Horizon School Division. Does anyone else have anything they want to add or that we're missing? And I think Tabor's Table, a couple, I don't know if we've sent out a formal invite on that one, Lace. That's probably why you don't have any on August 9th. Okay, certainly.
I don't think we even know
Oh,
the
okay,
location yet.
certainly. Sorry, Councillor Tricato said he can speak to that.
I can, they were going to change it to a picnic in the park, but I don't believe they're doing that. I received an email here a couple days ago that stated that they thought they were gonna reduce the ticket price and maybe increase it to a capacity of 150. But none of that has been finalized yet. Once it is, I'm sure that the committee will be sharing that.
Perfect. Thank you for that update. Okay, Lace, are you feeling you're missing anything from any of us? Okay. All right, if there's nothing else, I would accept a motion for the upcoming events and meetings.
I can give you motion to receive the upcoming meetings and events for information.
Thank you. Those in favor? It's carried. Okay, moving on to requests for decision, non-bylaw 2025 operational grants for recreation.
Thank you, Minega. So annually, the MD of Tabor provides contribution to towns, villages, and hamlet rec boards with respect to operational recreation funding. We apply the relevant policy to determine how those, contribution breakdowns take place. It is, the principle of that policy is really based on level, types, and volume of services that each provides within the region. I'll let Bryce kind of summarize where things landed this year based on the inventories that were submitted by each of the stakeholders.
Thanks, Arlis. Not much to add other than there was some just corrections made where they were necessary. The MD of Tabor Recreation identified some changes that we'd made, especially with respect to the forks, just removal of one of the shelters or one of the camp kitchens down there. Just try to make the accuracy of the inventories for each of the different recreation boards, towns and villages accurate and representative in their points. And so we went through that exercise similar to we did last year. And there was a correction made again to, I believe, Grassy Lake Recreation Board made an adjustment for accuracy reasons. And so the points are represented. You can see the total of points that are represented, and then the policy is applied to allocate the base funding to each of the different recreation boards. As well, you also note that the ICF has been applied as well with some top-up funding for both the Village of Barnwell and the Town of Vauxhall in order to ensure that minimum funding has been applied as per our ICF. And the summary of our cost, the actual operating grant funds that we're contributing would be $513,719 for this year, based on the formula and based on the breakdown that we provided.
And that's only specific to that policy. There's additional recreation funds that we contribute, both within our internal budget, i.e. campgrounds that we maintain and other recreational initiatives, but also the donations to community organizations and events. So this is just one aspect of our recreation funding.
In the ICF agreements, is it identified as to what, when we're providing this to municipalities within our region, other than our hamlets, is it identified as what those funds are supposed to be for, the operational and maintenance or programs? What exactly are the funds supposed to be, I guess, given out for?
Yeah, so there's very little conditional, I guess, in the ICFs themselves. It identifies what has been historically taking place, and it is very much centered in operating recreation funds for those municipalities. So
not necessarily maintenance.
Well,
operations.
Maintenance is part of their operations, but
okay, thank you.
Does not from what I recollect, it does not specify capital contribution. If I could maybe just even add to that too, it's the policy that we're following that generates the contribution amounts here is very much steeped in the services that they offer, which very much references the operational and maintenance costs for those services that they're offering.
Now, do you understand, do you know any thing about other rurals that might be contributing to urbans and how their ICFs would be more definitive on what their grant funds are to go towards? Or is this fairly similar to the way you see most rurals contributing to urbans for recreation?
You know, I would prefer to do more research to better answer that question.
Councillor Harris?
I can give you the following motion. That the Municipal District of Tabor approve the 2025 operational grants for recreation boards, towns and villages as listed below to be distributed in the following amounts as per policy. Enchant Recreation Board, $49,026.81. Hayes Recreation Board, $48,143. Grassy Lake Recreation Board, $47,537.24. The Town of Tabor, $209,021.85. Town of Vauxhall, $120,198.61. Village of Barnwell, $14,141.01. And approve the 2025 recreational grant amounts as per intermunicipal collaborative framework agreements. The Town of Vauxhall an additional $701.39. And the Village of Barnwell an additional $13,017.99.
Thank you. All right, so a motion is on the floor. I think I just wanted to point out for those who might be watching to check the attachment 2, which does define the Community Service Recreation Management Directory. It highlights the different items as per what CAO Crops had just said, that it is based on what is operating in their communities. And that is reflective of the current policy that we have. CAO Crops through to Bryce, he has a question.
I would just add too that our team has continued to make note of some of the upcoming board recreation board meetings in order to make sure that we're in attendance to continue to communicate with the recreation boards and gather feedback over time. And so that is something that we're actively working at. As well, some of the alignment of the point system was referenced in our recreation master plan. And so the implementation of this points breakdown does align with some of the recommendations. Some of the recommendations we didn't follow directly. There was recommendations over a period of time that council had desired to do an annual donation request, but essentially with respect to the point system, this was in alignment with that program. So.
Thank you. So I think as MD of Tabor, we recognize the recreation is a very important part for all of our residents. And we recognize that our residents are utilizing recreation in the Town of Tabor, Town of Vauxhall, and Village of Barnwell, and that the rec boards that are in our hamlets are doing an incredible job volunteering and sustaining recreation. And we have great appreciation for that. So currently we have a motion on the floor. I'll ask if there's any questions regarding that motion or comments regarding this recreation grant before I read out the motion. Okay, I will not read out the individual, that the MD of Tabor approved the 2025 operation grants for the recreation boards, towns and villages as listed below to be distributed in the following amounts as per policy, and approved the 2025 recreation grant amounts as per intermunicipal collaboration framework ICF agreements. Those items were noted in the original read-in motion and dollar amounts and who the recipients are. Any further comments or questions? Those in favor? That motion is carried. So I'd like to make a motion that for the 2026 MD of Tabor budget, we review recreation contributions in respect to let's just leave it at that, and then I'll give you more information on that 2026 we review the recreation contribution. Well, I was going to say that, but I know that's not always favorable. So 2026, as part of the 2026 budget process, we review the operating grants for recreation boards, towns, and policies. Sorry, Lace, which we naturally do, but I think it is worth noting. And my reason for this motion is that we set a total amount, but I don't know that council has a full, always has a full understanding of how we arrive at that amount and whether there should be some change or adjustment, even in consideration with those one-time application grants. So that's my reason for adding this motion to the budget discussion. Because we see recreation come as a lump sum and not as a breakdown. So thank you, Lace, for improving that. So the motion reads in that the MD of Tabor recreation contributions were reviewed in the 2026 budget deliberation as it relates to operational grants for rec boards, towns, and villages. Any questions on that? Those in favor? That motion is carried. Okay, next item on the agenda is the grazing lease tender result.
And I'll excuse myself from this item.
Thank you, Murray. Oh, yeah, we could take 5 minutes. We'll recess for 5. Sorry, Murray. Okay, we're moving on to MDT grazing lease tender results. Councillor Reynolds has recused himself from the discussion because of his interest in grazing leases. So I'll turn it to you, Arlos.
Thank you, Reeve. At the April 11th meeting, council provided direction to put this particular grazing lease out to tender, and this RFD here outlines those results after the tender is closed with a recommended approval to the highest bidder in this respect. So I don't have any additional information, Bryce. I don't know if you have anything additional to add, but we are recommending to approve the higher bid as outlined in the recommendation.
Maybe just to note that it's only this is a 1 year, just a single year. So
A 1 year due to the alignment with our review of grazing leases. Councillor Harris.
Just one question. Can you remind me, just for my information, how many AUMs are allowed on this piece of property? Do you, if you don't have
It's
that
there.
close by, no problem.
No, it's there, 35.
Okay, am I just missing it here somewhere?
It's on the, I had to look for it too. It's on the lease page, Councillor Harris. So it wasn't on this front page.
On the attachment.
Yeah. So for me, just because I'm always trying to figure out per acre, per AUM, I would prefer to see that as well, just because we keep dealing with that. So I just want to confirm, is it $34.59 per acre? If I just do the straight basic math of 150 of the bid amount divided by the number of acres, and then is it the same way that you use the AUM? And again, it's my failed math, so maybe someone who's an expert in that.
It is with respect to the acreage. I'm not sure how the
Okay.
calculation on AUM is, but if we can just take 2 seconds, we'll figure it out here.
Councillor Chikado?
35 AUMs, is that the total for the season? I guess is another question I would have. Because I wouldn't imagine it can handle 35 AUMs per month on 1 quarter. So that, I'm thinking that's the total and not
season.
monthly.
Yeah.
AUM is an animal unit month. So I'd assume that that's the total for the
So
grazing
5
season.
minus-
So you divide that by 5, which would then give you 7. So 7 animals for the grazing season, or 7 pairs.
That's what I understand.
Yes.
Yeah, so I
I'm
think,
just, and I'm not telling how it is, I'm asking the question, I guess.
Yeah, so I'm confident with respect to the acreage
Yes.
calculation, but not as much with respect to the animal units.
yeah, so the bid package does say 35 animal unit months. So then, yeah, so, well, Brian is here and perhaps our expert can, thank you. So you got the gist of the question then?
Repeat it.
Okay, so we were just trying to confirm, so as we've been working through lease discussions, we often refer to the amount on the per acre and then the per animal units. So we want to confirm those 2 amounts, and then Councillor Turcado has asked, that means 35 animal units per year, not per actual month. So we want to just have confirmation.
Right, so for Councillor Turcado's question, it's for the whole year, so seven cow-calf pairs for 5 months, or however you want to do it, as long as you're only taking that using it that much. So yeah, the bid came in at approximately $5,500 for the 1 year. So that would equate to like $157 per AUM, or $34 per acre.
Yeah, that's important for me because we're working in what rates we're going to set. And so it helps us have something to reflect on it, as we've heard numerous times. What those bids come in is a reflection of the market. And I realize this is only a 1 year, so it is a bit different, but it gives us another measuring tool.
And just one point of clarification too, it was, you said it was tendered for 1 year just to align with the other ones. It was determined by council to only put it out for 1 year and then have a proposal,
Okay,
open it up for proposal after that, so.
thank you for that
So it
clarification.
won't be in line with the other ones. That it would take 2 years at least to do that for those ones.
Okay, thank you. That's good information for us. Okay, council, if you have any additional questions, you can ask them at this time, or I would accept a motion. Okay,
I can
Councillor
do
Harris.
I'll give the motion that the municipal district of Tabor approve the highest bid of $5,550 per year plus GST to lease the northeast of 9/12/18 west of the 4th for the 2025 grazing season, and direct administration to proceed with executing an MD of Tabor grazing lease for the tendered parcel with the successful bidder.
Thank you. Any questions on the read-in motion? Those in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you for providing our answers to our questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Escalated quickly.
Mhm.
I'll say that the rates have escalated quickly.
And 1 year. Okay, next is public budget submission form. It should be noted this was on committee of the whole agenda, but it has been moved here to meet a timeliness factor. So council be free to discuss as you would in committee of the whole, but you have that opportunity. So I'll turn it over to CEO Crofts.
Yeah, this is something that we're looking and wanting to recommend to council to incorporate something like this, if not this, something similar, with respect to incorporation of some sort of public process for our budget, providing an opportunity for the public to submit budget ideas, not just ideas, but also potential solutions in terms of affording or funding those ideas as well. So this is something we wanted to pass through council before we ideally implement. So the details of what it could look like are in the example attached to this RFD.
So if we were to implement this public budget submission form, would this carry on once we allow for it or move it forward? Would it then be for every budget moving forward, or would we review it after the first year? Or if there's no, I guess, submissions, would we then continue it or would we review it?
I think if I could add, I think it's always, these tools are always up for review. I think I would want to personally give it more than 1 year opportunity, because this is, you may not get as much uptake in the first year of something that's being tried out, right? So, but I would say it's always under review to a certain extent. Mike, you add to that?
Yeah, I think the intent would be to continue to offer something like this going forward. In a different municipality, we started off with a tool that in a town of 8,000, we got 20 responses for the first year. And then each year we would get 100% increase, but then only 40 people were responding. So each year that we continued to offer it, we kept seeing a greater response to it as it became a more familiar tool, as we worked to implement it as a communication strategy to get it out earlier and do different things to kind of open up that just the knowledge that it exists. So I think it's one of those things that takes some time to get the uptake, because it's a new offering, and so you'll see the opportunity as, I don't want to fill this out, so I won't do it. But then when something comes up 2 or 3 years down the road and they want to do something, then they know it exists and they can provide something. So I think it's a tool that I would want to see continue as time goes on, but maybe some reviewing and tweaking as the years go on as well.
We're seeing more and more of this throughout all levels of government on engagement, and so this provides a fairly simple tool for us to ask our residents. So I appreciate you bringing this forward, and I appreciate that there's a submission deadline, so it allows council to utilize that information as part of their budget deliberations. Any further comments, council, on this proposed new practice?
I can give you the motion that council incorporate the public budget submission form as part of the budget preparation process.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Committee of the Whole. At our last Committee of the Whole, we were not able to complete our agenda. And so there is a proposal that we set another Committee of the Whole meeting on June 2nd, and there's a motion that needs to be done through council. So if I have someone who would like to make that motion, Councillor Clausen.
I can move that the Municipal District of Taber schedule Committee of the Whole meeting for June 2nd, 2025 at 1 p.m.
Thank you. Those in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you. On to policies, ASB policy review. I'll turn that over to Arliss.
Yeah, thank you, Remenega. So this is actually, just one sec here. Yes, this is specific to what was previously referenced as the Agricultural Service Board policy. And that policy established how the board was set up. However, because at the beginning of the end of 2024, post-organizational meeting, council had adopted a bylaw, or a bylaw came into effect at that point in time, where members at large were incorporated into the governance structure of the Agricultural Services Board. That bylaw takes precedence and essentially requires, because it's now in place, we no longer need the Agricultural Services Board policy. It's no longer, one, it's no longer current, and two, because we have a bylaw, it's no longer needed. So the bylaw replaces the policy. So we're looking to essentially cancel the policy.
Okay, it's quite clear. It's just we're removing something that is no longer needed and is redundant. So a member of Councillor Reynolds.
I can move that the Municipal District of Taber cancel the Agricultural Service Board policy outlined in attachment A.
Thank you. Any questions? Those in favor? That bylaw is cancelled. Thank you. Okay, we had nothing from the consent agenda. Number 12, council requests for information and motions. Councillor Turcado.
So I don't know how much administrative work this would be, but we saw a grass tender this morning that it might be beneficial should we allow for previous tenders as well to do comparative as to where the market is going. That would be helpful. And if it's too administratively heavy to do that, then I would understand.
I guess my question is in what context do you want it provided? So
I guess the price per AUM, price per acre for tendered grazing. And when we have tendered cultivated, have something similar as well, just so we understand where things are going. So then there would be a date as to when these tenders were received, and it would give us an idea as to where the market's going.
okay, so for additional clarity, like in the context of our land management plan discussions, is what you're looking to receive that information in? Like,
yes, but then also in the future as well. So we just understand where things are going. When we're tendering like this, it's really good to have I guess a visual as to where we see things moving.
In In the 2 meetings ago, Committee of the Whole, there was a document that reflected the last, I believe, 12 to 18 months. I'd have to look just to get the date that did show this. So I think what you're saying is just to have this, like you want it as a chart and as a graph, so you can see it. And then if there's new tendering, that would always be included as well.
Yeah, so that so even over the last, let's say, 2 years, having that information to see, you know, where this is going. So it gives us a better idea. So even today, I was trying to remember what had happened in the previous grazing tender. And I can go back and look for that, but it would be helpful if it was there in front of us when we're making this decision, as just to see where things are moving.
So Arliss, your staff has already compiled that, and this would just be an addition. So do you need that as a motion, or does you're already doing it? And
Yeah,
some,
it's just a matter of including it when we need to, so.
okay, and I think what ends up happening is when we have Committee of the Whole, it probably is worthwhile, particularly on long standing discussions like lease items, that it be referenced in the agenda that additional attachments are available at this date of Committee of the Whole, just so people have it. Counselors can find it a little easier, but then that way staff or community who's watching or following this, they know what documents we use. Is that satisfactory? Okay, anybody else request for information or motion? All right. One more motion.